That's why in this video, I'm going to cover all of the best dirt bikes based on your specific needs and situation. So whether you're short or tall or a beginner or looking for the best two-stroke for trail riding or four-stroke or just somewhere in between, then this video is for you. First, there's a couple questions that you need to ask before you choose the right dirt bike. One is, where will you be riding? For example, if you're only going to be riding off-road and you don't need to go on the street, then you can stick to trail bikes, enduro bikes, or motocross bikes. Or do you need a street legal dirt bike where you can legally ride on and off-road? If so, then you need a dual sport bike, which I show you in this video here. Next, what is your experience level and what are your goals with riding? If you're a beginner, then you should be considering these dirt bikes. From Yamaha, you got the TTR 125 and the TTR 230. And from Honda, you got the CRF 125 and the CRF 250F. From Kawasaki, you got the KLX 140, KLX 230R, and the KLX 300R. These are all the best beginner bikes, and if you're under 5'4", then you're probably going to be looking at the 125 or 140 cc. The small wheel is a couple inches lower, where the big wheel, it's a little bit taller and a little bit more stable, where the 230 to 250 or the 300 are better if you're 5'6" to like 6 foot and a little bit taller. Now, if you just want the list of the top dirt bikes for trail riding, you got the Honda CRF 250F, the Yamaha WR 250F, the Honda CRF 250RX, Yamaha WR 450F, Beta 200RR, Yamaha YZ 250X, KTM 250XCW, and Husqvarna TE 300. There's a lot more bikes that are really good for trail riding, but these are some of the most popular due to their characteristics, whether it's power or suspension or handling or reliability. And if you're a trail rider that wants to have more confidence, you can grab my Master Your Confidence Trail Riding Handbook at motocrosshideout.com/confidence or the link in the description below. And if you're wondering what the difference between 2 and 4-stroke is, there's 4 main things. The engine, the 2-stroke is a lot more simpler because there's less moving parts and they tend to stall less than a 4-stroke, where a 4-stroke makes a little bit more usable power across a wider RPM range, so you don't have to shift as often. 2, the 2-stroke handles generally a little bit better because it feels lighter, especially at low speeds on the trails. That's why they're generally picked for hard enduro type riding. 3, the exhaust sound. The 2-stroke is ring ding ding, rah, where a 4-stroke is so do you want a thump thump or a brap brap? 4, mixing gas. Some modern 2-strokes are oil injected, so you don't need it to mix gas, but 2-strokes, they require oil in the fuel, where a 4-stroke just requires straight gas. What are the best 2-strokes for trail riding? KTM has the 150 XCW, which is among the smallest and lightest weight bikes for off-road or trail riding. So if you want something that kind of feels like a mountain bike with an engine that handles really well, the 150 XCW is a really good choice. And Beta also offers a 125 or 200RR, which are really good bikes. The 200 has noticeably more torque and mid-range power while still feeling light compared to a 250 or bigger dirt bike. Then Yamaha has the YZ 250X, which is simple, reliable, solid platform for 2-stroke enduro riding. It has a carb, kickstart only. So if you don't want any modern features, Yamaha is still a great choice. KTM has the 250 XCW, which has some more modern features like fuel injection, electric start, and has a little bit more power than the Yamaha 250. Plus, it's a little bit more tunable with the power valve and the fuel injection if you want to tune it for more bottom end, mid-range, or peak horsepower. Then Husqvarna has the TE 300, which is kind of the ultimate hard enduro dirt bike because it has very good, very smooth, very strong power, and it's going to feel lighter than a 450 4-stroke. Now, what about the best 4-strokes for trail riding? Well, Honda has the CRF 250F, which has been out for 5 years now and is a super solid, proven platform. It's not the lightest bike, but it's super reliable and great for any size rider that's at least 5'6" tall. Yamaha has the WR 250F, so if you're looking for a little bit more engine and suspension performance and don't mind a taller seat height or want something that's a little bit taller, the WR 250F is a great transition from a 230 or 250 trail bike without going to the full-on cross-country race bike. It's a little bit detuned compared to those, but still has plenty of power and suspension. But if you do want something a little bit more aggressive, snappy power, a little stiffer suspension, something like the KTM 250 XCF is closer to the 250F motocross bike because it has more aggressive power and is a little bit lighter than the enduro off-road model because it doesn't have lights or some of the accessories. Then Yamaha has the WR 450F, which is one of the best all-around four-stroke trail bikes because it is so reliable and the power is very usable for all kinds of riding. I wouldn't say that it's great for tight and technical trails because it's a little bit heavier, a little bit much to handle, especially if you're a smaller guy. And Yamaha has the KTM 500 EXCF. So it's kind of a little bit step up if you want a little bit more performance compared to the WR and don't mind spending a little bit more and buying an Austrian brand bike. Now, what are the best dirt bikes for hard enduro? Well, you can choose the KTM 250 XCW. The 250 has a little bit less vibration than the 300 and is a little bit lighter, but generally most people pick the 300s for hard enduro just because they have the most power and don't weigh a whole lot more. So that would be the 300 XCW, the Sherco 300 SE Factory, the Husqvarna TE 300, the Beta 300 RR, Riehu MR Pro 300, Gas EC 300, or the TM 300. Now, what about if you want the best dirt bike for track and trail riding? Now, you're going to have to compromise here because a track bike, so a motocross bike, is going to have the stiffest suspension, the most aggressive power, but it's going to be a little bit too stiff and aggressive for kind of slower or technical trail riding, so it's going to feel harsh. But if you choose a trail bike, the suspension is going to be too soft and it might not have enough power for riding on the track. So for this, you'll want to choose a cross-country model enduro bike. This would be the Yamaha YZ125X, the KTM 150XC, the Yamaha YZ250FX, Honda CRF 250RX, Kawasaki KX 250X, the Yamaha YZ250X, the KTM 250XC, KTM 350 XCF, or the Yamaha YZ450FX. And what about the best motocross bikes? Well, here on MX Hideout, I don't really cover much motocross, even though it's in the name. I don't really feel like changing the name because I made it back in 2009. So if you're looking for motocross tips, you should probably head to MX Factory or Moto Academy. But I can cover the best bikes, and that would be the Yamaha YZ250F, KTM 350 SXF, Honda CRF 450R, or the KTM 450 SXF. These aren't the only good ones, but these are some of the most popular ones because they have the best in power, best in handling, or best in suspension in their class, at least on average for the last several years. Are you looking for the best all-around dirt bike? So something that can handle trails, mountain riding, desert, dual sport riding, and maybe a little bit of track riding? Well, if you need something street legal, the KTM 350 or 500 EXCF is a great choice because for a dual sport bike, they're fairly light and they have plenty of power. Too much power if you're a beginner, in my opinion, if you want to build your confidence quickly. And then the Yamaha WR 450F, which isn't street legal from the factory, but it's still a great all-around bike because it has good torque, mid-range power, top-end power, good suspension, handling, reliability. Or if you want a smaller bike that's a little bit more aggressive, the Yamaha YZ250FX is one of the best all-around dirt bikes for track riding, for GNCC, hare scramble, even trail riding. Moving on to the best dirt bikes for short riders. So if you're under 5'8" or 9", or you have short legs like me, it's hard to get on a tall seat height of these full-size dirt bikes. But there are still a few full-size bikes that have a slightly lower seat height, something under 36 inches tall. This would be the KLX 140G. It's the same platform as the 140, small wheel and large wheel, but it has the full-size 21 18-inch wheels, and I believe it's the lowest seat height for a full-size bike. So if you don't mind having just a 140cc air-cooled four-stroke engine, that is an excellent choice. Then Kawasaki also has the KLX 230R, which has noticeably more power, and it's a little bit heavier than the 140, so it's a good transition, or if the 140 is a little bit too small for you. Honda has the CRF 250F, which is probably the best beginner dirt bike for teens and adults, especially if you're under 6 foot tall. And if you want a two-stroke, Beta has the 300X Trainer, which is about 20% smaller in overall size compared to like their 300RR. The engine is also detuned, the suspension is softer, so it's a lot more easy to control, which is good for slower, casual, or more technical trail riding, but it still has plenty of snap if you need to rev it out. What about if you're a big or tall guy? Well, unfortunately, they don't make dirt bikes that are for 6'5" tall guys, but there are ways to modify the cockpit, like the handlebars or the foot pegs and the seat, if you are already using proper technique when it comes to your body position. Because a common mistake is standing up too tall when riding on the foot pegs, and this puts you in an unbalanced riding position. For beginners, I recommend the CRF 250F or the KLX 300R. Now, they don't have the tallest seat height, but the CRF 250F can fit a wide range of riders, and if you go to hyperlightmoto.com, they have some fork and shock modifications that increase the seat height as well as the ground clearance to make it feel like a full-size enduro bike. And the KLX 300R, it has a longer and wider chassis, so it makes it feel a little bit bigger than like the 230 or the 250 trail bike. For motocross, you got the YZ450F. For cross-country enduro riding, you got the Honda CRF 450RX. For enduro off-road trail riding, you got the Yamaha WR450F. Or for dual sport or just kind of all-round trail riding, the KTM 500EXCF. Now, what about if you're an older guy, 50 plus, and you're looking for a dirt bike, one that's easy to ride, allows you to ride longer without getting exhausted, doesn't require as much maintenance? I highly recommend the Kawasaki KLX 140, the L or G model or full size, the Honda CRF 250F, the Kawasaki KLX 230R or KLX 300R, or the Beta 300X Trainer. And if you've never ridden a dirt bike before, or just want a quick video to refresh your memory on how to actually get on and ride a dirt bike, you should check out this video on how to safely and confidently ride a dirt bike for the first time, because I don't want you to crash. What do you think? Which dirt bike is best for you from this list? I'm Kelly Fager from Motocross Hideout. Learn more, ride more.